was just thinking to myself as I was there is nothing more disgusting in this on earth than police corruption, government cover-ups. It's got to be the worst thing ever. Well, then when you take it to the prison system and you take it to like some slimy characters like money, like just slimy people. I'll tell you, I was thinking about, geez, wonder what I should talk about today. And then I went for a bit of a fishing expedition yesterday. Weirdly enough, I was talking about the jail mail. But I didn't post it online. Coincidentally, of course, today in today's Herald Sun, there's a story of the jail mail in the new prisons and how they're filtering it with artificial intelligence, and the prison officers are not happy because their sook would be, I guess, that it's doing them out of a job. Now, I don't really want to put it on, for the most part, lower ranked prison officers, because I've seen what they've have to deal with, not just from the inmates, not just from the first timers who want to think being difficult to a prison officer is how you're supposed to behave. Not just that, not just the carnage, the characters, the anger they got to deal with. I've seen what they've had to deal with from the politics and the upper officers, where you have an office full of what they call a three-pipper, senior management, and the frontline staff are run off their feet. I've seen it all. I know exactly what the struggling brave frontline people have to put up with. So it's not a slight on them. However, throw into the mix this little story. And this is the story I ran with. I actually did one of these yesterday, but I thought, no, I won't post it online. It was a little bit, Anyway, just after the prison riots at the Metropolitan Remand Centre, when they were in full, they were still they just finished robbing the government of about 20 million in the upper officers, and the lower ranked officers were dirty, but they were told to take the tears back, pay, as you can picture. They've just lost a remand prison, okay? They're taking it out on the inmates. Well, in that, there was a prison officer, a Paul Blart mall cop style prison officer, who came across like a half decent person, but inside he was a spiteful swine. And what he would do, his name rhymed with beach and might have begun with V. I'm not too sure, but anyway, IBAC has his name. This is the type of what he was doing. Now you got to remember, prison mail is for the management and good order of the prison. It's not for a prison officer like Mr. Veach to sit there and read it like a story and go, oh, not bad, hey, did you see that, Mr. Milne? See, not a bad Sheila he's got on the outside. And hang on, I've heard stories of prison officers going around to inmates' houses, so don't, there's good and bad everywhere, okay? I've heard stories of inmates' girls where the prison officer has been reading the mail, knowing, she's on her own out there. I've been reading the whole story. Goes around there to lend her a hand. I kid you not. Anyhow, so when you add into that story, the AI, the sooking of the AI, taking their jobs, don't forget this side of the coin. So in my case, my personal example, Mr. Veach, what he was doing, he was making it well and truly aware to me that he was not just I had no visit. I wasn't there like the person who would bring contraband in or get involved in the politics, taking them out, jail gangs, all that. That wasn't for the most part, I just wanted to get in, get out and try and get myself a job and a house and back repair myself and move on, get away from it. But the system has other plans, and this is how damaged it is. So anyway, they're that petty, they can't let go. Anyway, so in this example with the mail, This officer by the name of Veach was reading my mail that hard and making it well aware and making snide backhanded remarks about family and whatnot. I started toying with him, much to the dismay. I feel a little bit sorry for the dear girl I was writing to at Dame Phyllis, the women's prison, while I was trying to drive this officer by the name of Veach's head in, and it worked a treat. Because what he ended up doing, it cooked him that much, he ended up circulating those letters online, on a WhatsApp group, on Facebook, through to the mainstream media. I'd love to know if he got paid for that, to be honest. I would love to know if he got paid. But the amount of references I've had for those letters, what does he think? I've got a memory like him? I've got a memory like a born spare parts person there. I can tell you VP 91147, big end bearing for a 6-cylinder Holden red motor, VP 91516, main bearing part number for a Holden red motor, DC 220MT valve regrind set, that's a head gasket set for a Holden G180Z Gemini, girlfriend. So anyway, I remember it like yesterday. I'm sitting there writing all these stories like, oh, we're throwing money around. And you could watch he's like he was getting all dirty. He was getting all affected because he's poor at his job. The reality is he is supposed to read that mail, glean it. Anybody kicking any drugs? No. Anybody going to get stabbed? No. Definitely no prison officers getting stabbed? No. No, nothing bad, no contravening of IVOs or anything. Great, sealed up and off. Not read the story like you're reading Tolkien. Not read the story like you're reading, War and Peace or something, and just get in there and then let it affect your life to the point where you're actually breaking laws. And that's what this animal by the name of Veach from Metropolitan Remand Centre did. He got that worked up, he started circulating my mail. I was fishing the whole time. I was saying things like, they can't get over half these prison officers are just disgruntled police officers. They're dirty on the world because they couldn't get over the wall at the police academy. Like just full poking them. Not abusive, not like, hey, you're XYZ. No. Just full being smart, fishing. Like what they should have. Like a genuine person out there policing them. Not where you got to report it. Hey, IBAC, I just saw Mr. Veach and he's like circulated mail of inmates in complete contradiction to his own boss's commissioner's requirements. Not that. You should have people actively policing it. Why? So they don't do it. Because they don't know. They don't know who's gonna. Hey, hang on a minute. I will say again what I had when I was at Bridgestone. Just a tyre guy, nothing fancy, but it was a great life. I got to work. People come for miles to get there. I took it. I loved that job. I loved the suspension. I can tell you about keyhole sipes, semi-slick shoulders. You name it. I enjoyed it. I can tell you about bump, rebound. Toe in, toe out, negative effects of, too much camber on the rear wheel of a VT Commodore. But realistically, it's more to do with the toe out that wears your tyre. No problem. Because why? Because if I'm going to do something, I try and do it to the best of my ability. Anyhow, so in that, I was exposed to, and I will boast, I do believe I got the highest score in Bridgestone Australia, possibly Bridgestone the world. It was 96 out of 100 in the mystery shopper. I know. Okay, cool guy. Hang on a minute. My point though, being silly, but my point is very strong, and that is, if you've got a tyre place where you're keeping the bastards honest, so to speak, with a mystery shopper, and the frontline guys can never, or gals or whatever, staff, can never really know, hang on, is this going to be a mystery shopper? I better make sure I check myself before I wreck myself. That type of thing. But here we have prisons, police, and very important areas in our government, in society, who don't have that. They've got a non-independent, broad-based anti-corruption unit, which is completely controlled by the government. I mean, when I was involved in an IBAC, I will eventually get around, once I've finished my studies and everything, I'll share the IBAC communication that I had when I was under that Magistrate Pappas's reign, where she was thinking it was completely okay to use women in the most degrading of degrading ways, while turning a blind eye to commercial quantities of grade A drugs. So I'll share all that eventually, but for now, let's just stick to the prison system and how you have a situation where not only is the independent, broad-based anti-corruption unit not independent. So here, when I'd speak to IBAC, what IBAC would do is not compose some investigation or then, bring a staff member in to have a look at the goings on in the like a bunch of just muppets. What they'll do is that, and they know exactly what they're doing. Don't think they do it like, What they'll do is they'll go, excuse me, Bart from the Melbourne Drug Court, I've just had this complaint from a person, XYZ, and do you get what I mean? Now imagine if a police officer heard XYZ selling drugs from the My Car reception just over there. And then the police just walked in there and said, excuse me, are you selling drugs from here? Well, that's what we're dealing with at a government level. Do you understand? And it needs to stop. It needs to be fixed wholeheartedly. Brad Batten, that's one for you. If you get elected into power, into office, it'll upset some of your colleagues. They'll go after you. You should promise the public of Victoria you will introduce a genuine independent body to monitor all government departments. You might lose the vote of the 100,000 odd government workers, but you'll get a lot of the vote of the other side of the coin because people are sick of it. The whole social media is full of it. That neo-Nazi thing that's marching in the city and whatnot, which I don't agree with one bit. Racism, I hate racism. Is just, it just makes no sense to me. Particularly in young Australia, okay? Racism makes zero sense. Well, you can go back a couple of generations pretty much with everybody and we're all migrants. So it makes zero sense. But what that is basically just the people boiling. It's coming out. They're sick of it. They're sick of such obvious dodginess at a government level. You don't have to be like a super sleuth to see organised crime figures, just add these two together. Hear of $1 billion blowouts and then see an organised crime figure in the same sort of area. Hello, Jacinta, hello. People don't like that, Jacinta. It's disgusting. You're robbing the people while they're driving on potholed roads and their women are getting... Makes me sick. Rant over, girlfriend.